Hi guys, Thogrey here for a new World of Warcraft video, and this video is a PvP guide video for the Destruction Warlock. This is for the patch 9.0.5. It could change in 9.1 when or once Blizzard decides to make your PvP talents actually a choice and not just legit demon armor or not demon armor. I hope they will change that, but for 9.1, they will probably change a lot of things in Covenant sides, Legendary sides, but also in PvP talent sides. But for now, let's discuss about 9.0.5. But before that we start this video, please subscribe to the channel if you want to support me. It helps me a lot. Also, like or dislike the video if you liked or disliked the video. It helps me to know if I did a good job with this guide to help you, to make you improve, or to make you understand what the Destruction Warlock means. But also, comment below what you think about the video. It helps me a lot to improve my videos video by video, but also to know which content or what for content you would like to see in the future. I'm working on a few PvP montage videos, but it takes some time since I'm trying to get the best out of those videos, and I'll try to make it as enjoyable to watch as I would like to watch it from another YouTuber, for example. So now, to start this video off, I'm going to say that Destruction Warlock is one of the most immobile spec out there. It has some mobility with portals, teleportations, or even soul shape if you are Night Fae, which I would recommend if you want to not be stationary and try to kite as much as you can, since that's most likely the gameplay that you are going for if you're Destruction Warlock. Destruction Warlock is also harder to play than an Affliction Warlock. Alright, Affliction Warlocks has to push a lot more buttons to make some more damage, but it is a lot easier to make damage as an Affliction Warlock than pressing Chaos Bolt and hoping, or at least trying to juke some kicks, juke some interrupts, juke some cell silences. Watch out for the stuns. Watch out from reflecting. Like if you're playing versus a warrior, you're pretty much going to kite all the time, conflag as much as you can, shadow burn as much as you can, and try to kill with time or with good CC preparation from your mates, but also from you. So that being said, let's watch the talents first. So for now, the talents that I'm playing as a Destruction Warlock is Flashover. The reason why I'm going for Flashover and not Eradication, it is purely because I'm using the Conflag Legendary, which gives 25% more damage on Conflagrate, also gives you an additional charge of Backdraft, which is super good for Chaos Bot, but also for Incineration, since you want to build some charges for Chaos Bots. It is overall the talent that you should take on the 15 row, but I can understand why people want to play Eradication if they're playing with the legendary, um, the Madness of the Akir, which is a good legendary by itself, but I privilege there's more priority for me for instant damage and instant control instead of going for those big burst chaos bolts, which happens in games. But when you're playing versus a melee train, melee cleave, or TSG or KFC, like those comps are very hard for Destruction Warlock to even perform. But if you can even cast two chaos bolts in a row on a 4 second timer, then you're pretty much guaranteed to win those games, but that won't happen with a reflect, with stuns, with silences, with interrupts. If they're playing with a shaman, then you have like three silences, three interrupts to deal with. So for me, flashover is the talent that you should take if you're going for the conflag legendary. You also play Soulfire if you want to play Soulfire in BGs. It is quite fun to do 15k damage on one cast, deleting people with Soulfire than Chaos Bolt, but it is pretty much a meme talent. In arenas, you will not pull off a 3.7 second cast. I think you have more chances to pull off a greater pyro because you have shimmer than if you can pull off soulfire. 25 row I play with shadowburn. There's a lot of good choices here. Shadowburn is for the instant damage build that I am playing. It has some medium damage. You can crit for 5k, you can crit for 4k. You're pretty much going to crit for to hit for about 2 between 2k and 3k. It is not a bad spell. It just burns your soul shards very fast. It has a 11-second recharge. You need to play as much haste as possible to try to get it as low as possible with conflag and shadowburn, so you have a lot of uptime for that. So that's the one I'm playing. It is ideal to play versus a melee cleave with shadowburn. Helps you to kill targets be below 20%, and it is quite enjoyable to play. It is a good gameplay for me and it's quite fun. And you have also 2 charges, so there is a lot of instant casts you can do in the beginning of the match. Internal combustion is a good spell. It does some medium damage. For me, it does between 1k and 2k damage per Chaos Bolt with Immolate dot. But the problem is you're you cast so little in arena that if you can have uptime on your Immolate, it's already great. But if you're trying to diminish it because of the Chaos Vault and doing more damage, the problem is you will cast a lot more Immolates, but also means that you are going to get silenced a lot more. The positive thing about Destruction Warlock is they have a lot more schools to play in. You have like Nature Spell if you're going for Soul Rot, Immolate, Fire Spell. You have some Chaos spell, which is the worst spell to get kicked on since you're going to get kicked on every spell. Or you can also get kicked on Shadow, but that doesn't happen since you will only get kicked on fear, and if you're going to get kicked on fear, it's quite bad for you, but it's not that bad since you are going to cast some fire spells. So if you're going to get kicked, try to get kicked on fear. It's the best possible kick that can happen to you, or on a soul rot spell, which is not that bad if you're getting kicked on nature. It just locks out soul shape and soul rot, but the rest you can cast. Your Cataclysm, which are playing Shadow Flame, is also a very bad spell to get kicked in. But yeah, it's your choice. I prefer to try to get kicked on a fear instead of a chaos bot. If I see that I getting kicked on a fear, then I can feel like I'm going to cast a lot more chaos bots in the game. So you also can play with reverse entropy. The problem I have with is it is a chance that you can get for 15% haste. And I don't like with lottery. Often than not, I want to have some control in my games. I prefer to have some control on the burst that I want to make, but also whenever I get a kill potential. Like if I have 15% haste for 8 seconds, but you get also kicked in those 6 seconds, then you're going to lose that buff that you're getting from your talents and basically making your talent row like meaningless. While Shadowburn is pretty much always guaranteed. It is guaranteed damage. That's why I like it. That's why I enjoy it to play with Shadowburn. Also makes me think about classic. I like the classic style Shadowburn where it does a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that much damage, but when you're bursting with Dark Soul instability, but also with your PvP trinket, it does a lot of damage over time. On the 30 row, I play with Demon Skin. It is the best possible talent that you can take. On the 30 row, Dark Pact is something that is taken in twos if you're playing with double TPS. But the problem I have with double DPS is you're pretty much going to rely on your mates to win those games because you're going to get trained on, and often than not you're going to kite as much as possible to even try to win. Your goal in twos for double DPS is just making yourself unkillable or not kiteable. So you try they try to catch up on you and it's not possible. That's your goal. but making damage is really not your goal in 2's DPS. So I recommend you to stick in healer and DPS in 2's. Then you can play with a holy paladin, which also does some crazy damage, or with a restoration shaman, which is super great for heals, super great for some double silence comps, which is super good. Or you can play with a disc priest, which gives you mind games, which will help you guarantee some games, guarantee some quick kills. In 35 row, I play with Cataclysm. It is just a preference for me because I have more control on my AoE. Fire and Brimstone makes Incinerate kind of hard to cast when you're trying to change CC some people. So I prefer to play Cataclysm. It also some good damage. It can crit for 7k, which is always welcome. But also you can also try to cast it behind pillars and try to get some stealthies out of your stealth, or even try to get some people in combat. It is a very good spell. Just this his 1.9 seconds cast is a very long spell to cast for a Destruction Warlock. It's quite equal as a Chaos Bolt on Backdraft, which is not that fast if you are playing as a Destruction Warlock. On the 14 row, I play with 40 row. I play with Mortal Coil. Destruction Warlock has the advantage to play with Havoc. If you Havocing the healer and you're Mortal Calling the DPS, there will be both of them will be Mortal Coiled, which is super good to actually chain CC some people. If you're Mortal Call one, they trinket, then get polymorphed or get feared or get stunned by your healer or DPS. It's always welcome to have those pressure, since people don't like to sit in Mortal Coil. Often than not, if they get Mortal Coiled, they will trinket, and then you can chain fear them and try to gain some distance, chaos bolting them, and trying to kill some people with those CC chains. Destruction Warlock, I try to compare them with a Fire Mage. They have some crazy bursts, but a Fire Mage that doesn't utilize their CC kits, their control kits, they have difficulties to pin down or kill people. They have combust, they can always kill people faster than Destruction Warlock, but once their combust is done, they are pretty much worse than a Destruction Warlock if they don't control the game. That is the problem for a Fire Mage. Our problem is survivability and also our mobility. That's why I'm playing with Mortal Coil. I could also play with Hall of Terror if it's a triple melee comp like a TSG. Um, but the thing I have with Hall of Terror, it doesn't heal me. It doesn't help me. It can be good versus a BM hunter because it forces them to get the PvP talents to make themselves immune to fears. But then again, it gives you more help against monks, for example, for against images, for against Xuan. So it's a very good spell itself, Hall of Terror. I'll need to try a lot more this talent, but for me, Mortal Coil will always have some preferences for Destruction Warlock. For Affliction, 100% Hall of Terror is better because they don't have Havoc. 45 row, I play with Roaring Blaze because I'm playing with the Conflag legendary. It technically will improve my conflag rate to 25% more on top on flashover, so it's 50%, and then you have like three conflagrates, which can be your most damaging spell at the end of the game, which often than not will be with chaos bolt. If you can land some chaos bolts, often than not, if you can land three chaos bolts on one target, they are pretty much dead, but that's in a burst window. You can also play with Reign of Chaos, which is again chance on every soul shard spent, which is quite meh. It is not that good. It means that you have like 30% more chance on every Chaos Bolt, 15% more chance on every Shadow Burn. It's not that good. It doesn't do that much damage and it lasts for 8 seconds. It was much better in BFA when it was a Azeroth trait, but for now it is not a choice that you can make. And Grimoire of Sacrifice is very good if you feel like your pet will get targeted, or if you're playing twos and you feel like the silence doesn't help you. For example, Warrior DK, a silence will not help you, so you can Grimoire of Sacrifice the Windwalker, which will heal you for 13% more damage, 30% more health, which is very good. The damage is pretty much negligible when you're playing Destruction Warlock. But it is a choice that you can make. You can also still play Roaring Blaze with your pets, like a Walker, but that's not that good. You can play with a Succubus or with the dog. So yeah, that's a choice I would make. Um, on the 50 row, I always play with Dark Soul Instability, except if I'm playing versus a mage, because I don't want to give them 30% more crit chance. So I play then Channel Demon Fire. Soul Conduit, again, 15% more chance to be refunded. It's not that great. It is quite annoying to play with. 15% is way too low. If there was a legendary or a conduit that would make that a lot higher, then maybe I would recommend you guys to take that. But for now, Dark Soul Instability gives you insane burst on that window, and Channel Demon Fire does some quite alright damage. But then again, you need to have Immolate up on one target to channel those 15 bolts on only one target. For the PvP talent, you got not that many choices as a Destruction Warlock, the same as Affliction Warlock, really. Focused Chaos will always get taken, because without that, your Chaos bot does less damage than a Lava Burst, which is laughable. Again, Destruction Warlocks aren't that popular just because of that reason. Elemental Shaman just does better than a Destruction Warlock, and they need to sacrifice a lot of PvP talents, a lot of defensives, a lot of offensives, just to get that talent always up. Like the Affliction Warlock needs to have the unstable affliction on 3 targets, the PvP talent one. They need to have that, and that's really a shame. I hope they change that. Demon Armor, since it's got buffed, is a very good spell, a very good defensive, very good versus melee. If there is a melee cleave, always get Demon Armor. It's pretty much a go-to. I would change Demon Armor for Nether Ward if it's a caster cleave, like a wizard comp. But yeah, I prefer Demon Armor because it gives me permanently 5% health and 150, 160 armor. But Nether Ward is pretty much a go-to if you're playing versus a fire mage. On Combust, it is pretty much a cock blocker. Um, and yeah, it's a very good spell, but I prefer the demon armor. Cremation is very good on conflag, but you need to have immolate up on all the targets that you want to do conflag. 3% targets maximum health is very good. Pretty much you have 9% of the target's maximum health gone in 3 GCDs if you're spamming conflag. I hope you won't do that, because you need those backdrafts to get used by Incinerate or Chaos Bolts. But if you want to spam it, generally it's 9% more damage if you're going for the rotation. I could change cremation if I feel like I'm not going to cast a lot. I feel then that I would play with casting circle. I know it is a 1 minute CD. It gives you now finally only an immunity to silence and interrupt effects, and won't override the unending resolve. That hardens your skin, reducing all damage you take by 40%, but also grants you immunity to interrupt silences and pushbacks, which is super good since you have now two um, spells that can grant you immunity to silences and interrupts, which is great. I play with casting circle if I feel like I have a hard time to even cast a fear. Like, it helps you cast things and helps you kill people trying to chaos bot people. So if you're playing with Ajakir, the other legendary with 25% extra damage on Chaos Bolt, I would definitely take Casting Circle instead of Cremation. It will give you more time to use that legendary, but also gives you more an easy time versus a melee cleave that wants to not let you cast. At least now you have the choice to cast. So it's a very good PvP talent. Fell Fissure is also very good if you're not playing with someone that can grant you healing reduction. Um, but it is very situational. You really don't have that many choices that you can take. I just hope some things becomes basic. But for now, Fell Fissure is really not a go-to. Bane of Havoc, it doesn't help. It doesn't help in arenas since again you play with focused chaos, which doesn't duplicate your spell. If it could duplicate the chaos bolt spell, then again that would be very good. But for now, it doesn't. It just replaces havoc, and havoc is just a better spell since it has a 30-second cooldown. Bane of Fragility is never taken. To be honest, it's a dead spell. Amplifier Curse is a very good spell, but then again, if you had four PvP talents, then it would be taken. But now you don't have four PvP talents, so for now, doesn't matter. Especially, it will get dispelled anyways. If it didn't get dispelled, then okay, but it gets dispelled, so it's very hard to just take a PvP talent that is a 30-second cooldown and gets dispelled by a dispel that has a 7-second cooldown. Nether Ward, like I said, very good spell. Essence Drain, not a good spell for destruction, a very good spell for affliction if you want to play that drain build. Casting Circle, very good spell now. And Gateway Mastery, I feel like 15 seconds is a little too low. If it was 30 seconds, I would maybe reconsider it. Reduce the cast time by 30% is interesting versus a few comps that wants to rush down the Destruction Warlock. But if you play with a lot of teammates that try to protect your portal, like when you're going to set up the portal, then it shouldn't be a problem or shouldn't need to have a reduction on your cast time. So that is for the talents. Stats wise, I would recommend you guys to play mostly haste and then mastery. Now, my stats are all over the place. I've put missed mastery on a few pieces because I like the extra damage it can provide. But if you can have 15% haste, it would be awesome. Then you can go for mastery. At that point, you can then have a lot more damage, and a lot more damage means a lot more possibility to kill people. Versatility will still be king. It's a PvP stat, unfortunately. So it is a PvP stat, so you don't really have a choice to not take versatility instead of a mastery or haste or critical strike stat. For now, verse is king. Try to get as much for verse as possible, but mastery and haste are very good stats, and critical strike 14% is a little bit too much. I just have a lot of pieces that gives critical strike, and I try to change it with time. Like this one, I got it from Vault. I want to change it. I will probably change it, and then it will be a lot better, of course. So for the legendaries, you have a lot of choices for Destruction Warlock. You can play the Cinders of Ajakir, which that's what I'm playing. It has conflag, gives you a conflag and one additional charge, and recharge time reduced by 3 seconds. So it becomes like a filler spell, but not just a filler spell, but the spell that you're going to cast to get the most damage as possible. It does 2.4k damage, and when it crits, it's very good, and especially it also gets upgraded with your talents. So it is a very good legendary. It is reliable. You will have reliable damage with it, and it's not that sexy. I know 3 casts of fire for a conflagrate is not that good, but it helps with putting some damage out. So other Shal of Yar, I cannot speak that name out. It is a very good talent, but it gets dispelled. What you can do if you have that, it's a very good legendary, but it gets dispelled. The problem is the talent is very good since it gives you 25% extra damage on your havoc target. So you can Havoc, for example, the Elemental Shaman, and then you cast Conflagrate on the Elemental Shaman so it doesn't duplicate the Havoc damage, but it gives you 25% more damage on the target. So your Conflag will do 25% more damage, your Chaos Bolt will do 25% more damage, Immolate will do 25% more damage, everything will do 25% more damage. So it's very, very nice to have. That's legendary like a possibility to take, but the problem is it gets dispelled, and once it gets dispelled, actually you are like 30 seconds without a legendary, technically. And if you can utilize that legendary, it is very good, but the uptime is very little since people will dispel it, or if they don't dispel it, they will dispel it 5 seconds later, so you will not enjoy that legendary that much. Again, Chaos Bolt is a very hard spell to hit, to cast, and to get your spell out of your hands. But yeah, it is reliable. It's more reliable than Madness of the Ashakir, but it is harder to not get you dispelled. If you play with an Shadow Priest, maybe you can then play with this legendary since they won't dispel the um, the dots of the Shadow Priests, else they will probably die. So it is a very good legendary if you are paired with dot class specs like Affliction Warlock or like a Shadow Priest. Madness of the Ashakir is a very good legendary. Again, if you play that Chaos Bolt Dream legendary, then I can understand why you would enjoy this legendary. But then again, I feel like you need like 20% more haste to actually utilize that legendary very well. I need to try it out once my haste levels are a lot higher. But for now, I feel like the Sinner's one is the best legendary that you can have. Relic is good, reliable, 10% increased damage. It's not sexy. I prefer Cinders. You can play it if you want. If you play mostly PvE, you will probably have Relic. But Cinders is for me the best. Cloth and the Ref is not a Destro lock legendary. Mostly Affliction or Demonology. Reliable, very good to be tanky as much as you can, but for destruction you will need more damage to actually kill people, so you don't play Claw of Endereth. Comp wise, what you can play as Destruction Warlock in twos, you can play with a Holy Paladin, which is the best comp that you can have. Holy Paladin does give you the stuns that you need, does give you Repentance, does give you a blind if you want to play with a blind, does give you a lot of stuff to survive, like a bop. It is reliable and a very good healer class. You can also play with the second best class, and that is a Restoration Shaman. Restoration Shaman has tools to help you survive, but also to kill casters. Mostly, Resto Shaman with a Destro Lock is the worst nightmare for any caster. They have insane silences, they have insane control, Hex, Fear, Stun Totem, even Shadow Fury, Coil, Fear. Like you have so much control that you can have that actually playing versus that comp is very toxic if you are playing with a fire mage, if you are a fire mage, if you are a warlock, if you are a shadow priest, if you are an elemental shaman, if you are a balanced druid. Balanced druid will never get a convoke out of you because you have your pet that can silence for you since you're playing the very good talent roaring blaze. So for now, this comp is probably one of the best. In trees, you can play shadow, like kind of shadow play, but you're not really shadow play. You can play with shadow priest, shadow priest healer. You can play with a red tree paladin, loads of burst. You can play with a balanced druid, loads of burst. You can play with an elemental shaman, loads of burst. You can play with fire mage, loads of control and burst. You shouldn't play with a rogue since you're both very squishy. You shouldn't play with a warrior since it doesn't mash well. You have both fears, you have both stuns, you're DRing yourself with them. Warriors prefer to play with other melees or with other casters anyways, so that shouldn't really be a problem. Enhanced Shaman is not that really good with a Destruction Warlock. If I'm remembering correctly, I didn't have any success with it. I would stick with a wizard cleave, wizard comp, or with a retry paladin, or even with a monk if you have a choice. Monks are also very good with a warlock. Loads of damage, pretty much. You have two DPS targets, and they cannot focus your healer since you will probably do a lot more damage if you are not focused. So let's discuss about the conduits, or at least about the covenant. For now, I don't like Night Fae, but Night Fae is the best one just because of Soul Shape. You're basically playing Night Fae only for Soul Shape. If you're a Destruction Warlock, Soul Rot is an ability that does some, or at least much, quite a lot of damage. Actually, 5k is a lot of damage. Does over 8 seconds. So basically your DPS will go higher. It is also a fast spell, it gives you also a nature spell to cast when you're getting kicked. Um, but I don't know, it's not really sexy to play with. If you're playing like a Necrolord, it's quite fun. But again, if you're getting kicked on Shadow, you will not cast that Necrolord spell. It is also a very long cast. You can also cast Chaos Bot in this instead. It is quite hard to make it work. Venthyr, it's like a no-brainer. It's not unplayable. And Kyrian is more for PvE. Um, so Soulbinds, I would play with Korain since I like the Wild Hunt tactics on my Warlock. Often than not, if I have a hard time to kill people, they will be above 75% for the extra damage. And yeah, it's quite interesting also for be like below 35%. Your health is also increased by 10%. Oh, your healing is increased by 10%, so your health stone also works on that, and you gain also 15% increased movement speed, which is also welcome as a destruction warlock since your mobility is quite shit. I play with Ashen Remains. Chaos Bolt and Incinerate deal a lot more damage, like 5.6% on targets afflicted by Immolate. Very good, very offensive. The only problem I have is casting Immolates. Um, Getting kicked is very annoying. Getting reflected is very annoying. But when you can cast a Chaos Bolt on an afflicted target afflicted by Immolate, it is a very good spell and a very hard hitting spell. Horde of the Wild Hunt doesn't help that much. Shade of Terror is one of the better conduits, 115%, 120% even if you're 200, I think. More damage before breaking is very good since you're playing with Fear, but you can also play with Hall of Terror as a Destruction Warlock. Not the best, but it is playable. I play also with the Diabolic Bloodstone, gives you Leech, so when you take a Healthstone, you can hit Conflag, you can hit Shadowburn, it will heal you. The only problem I have is when I have it and Mind Games is on me, basically you will not hit anyone, you will just sit down and getting dispelled or run away if they cannot dispel on you. I also play with Infernal Brand, it's not the best, but I like the feel to it. If I'm doing Infernal and they are getting slaughtered by my Infernal, they do quite a lot of damage. Often than not, they are trying to even top my damage, and it is very satisfying. The only problem I have is it is a 3-minute CD, and it shouldn't be 3-minute CD. It should be 2 minutes or 1.5 or at least something like that because this is ridiculous. Like your kill conditions are every 3 minutes. If you're not, if you don't have a infernal up, it is quite hard to maintain your soul shards without spending them on Shadowburn, because you want to do chaos balls, but if you can't make casts possible, then you will hit Shadowburn, and then you will hit a point where you don't have any shards to deal with. Face your foes, very good. It makes you tankier. It is interesting. Interesting passive. You can also play more defensively with the hold the line, standing still for 5 seconds. The problem is you don't want to stand still in PvP, but if you cast a lot, often than not, you will stand still if you're casting Chaos Bolt. First strike, it is good, but for 5 seconds, it's too low, and you need to sacrifice a potency, and endurance conduits are not that good for destruction warlock. So you're kind of stuck with this. You can also play with Dreamweaver, which is good with the pot tender, but now people know how to deal with the pot tender. I also like to play demonic momentum since it gives me that mobility that I really lack as a warlock. And yeah, I also like the soothing voice. It is very obnoxious to play with and against. So I hope they nerf it. 90% is way too much. It looks like it could even get like it's a third potency. It's ridiculous how much of a nuisance it can be for the enemy. So you can also play Naya if you want to do more damage with your Soul Rot. It's also interesting with your Naya's tools poison. Does some damage, not that much, and the health that you can regenerate with Soul Shape is also interesting. But I play it with my affliction lock. I prefer Naya with affliction. Um, yeah, and we can end this video by showing the burst rotation that you can have. Often than not, I try to conflag, then Chaos Bolt whenever I can, conflag again, Shadow Burn, conflag again. I try to have my Infernal up, Soul Rot, conflag, Shadow Burn. Yeah, it does a lot of damage. And this one is without PvP talent. Huh? It is really without PvP talent since I'm opted out. But it has a lot of instant damage, it provides a lot of DPS. But the only problem I have is purely getting soul shards once my Infernal is down. That's the only problem I have. I'm trying to emulate, to get my emulate up as much as possible. It has some damage. You need to havoc often to do a lot more conflags and to build a lot more shards. And spend your Shadow Burn basically on both, since it will help you to maximize your damage. Often than not, you will Fear, you will Chaos Ball, you will Mortal Coil, Shadow Fury, Cataclysm. It's a very immobile spec, but it is also a very fun spec. I like Destruction. It's just very hard and very draining to play a Destruction Warlock, since you will always get trained on, like you are the kill target like 100% of the time. If you're playing versus a rogue mage or RMP, you're pretty much the one that is going to get sapped and the one that is going to get killed first and foremost. Like you are going to get killed or you win the game. If you're not getting killed, they're pretty much not on you, or they have a hard time dealing with your teleports and with your soul shape. Don't forget to play with your demonic gateway. It helps a lot. And yeah, try to make your teammates understand that the portal is for everyone and everyone needs to take it. If they don't take it, then basically they kinda uh, have a hard time to deal with your mobility, and then you're going to kite people and LOSing them. But if you're playing with a disc priest, it's quite insane that they can follow you for like 30 seconds. They can make crazy charges, like jumps to you, but then you can take portal, you can soul shape away, teleport away. Disc priest will also grip you away. It's very interesting that you need to understand that destruction warlock, you are kind of the bitch of everyone, but once you have the time to cast those two magnific chaos bolts on the target, it is quite insane how much damage you can provide for the team. So this is my destruction warlock guide. I understand it is not that interesting to watch. Like it may be interesting to hear the guide, but I prefer to not give you any real gameplay footage on those guides, since I want to have the information out without you guys getting distracted because of the gameplay, or even on the gameplay maybe there is a situation and this situation will never happen again. So it is quite situational in PvP, especially for Destruction Warlock, where often than not you will kite most of the game, and you will have some damage, or at least you will top the damages, but you won't feel the damage coming through from you. So please like, subscribe, and comment below what you think about this video. Did I help you? Did you understand what I tried to say to you guys for the Destruction Warlock guide? It is a very hard spec to play. If you want an easier spec to play, the Affliction Warlock is the easier spec. But to be honest, Destruction Warlock is a funnier spec to play. So subscribe if you want to see any other video from me in the future. There will be a PvP montage videos from my warlock, from my warrior, from my hunter, druid, shaman. Like I have a few classes that I want to bring out on the video, but I'm trying to make some choices. I don't really want to disperse myself on alts. I want to push my rating on a few classes. From now, my warlock is doing very good in trees, and I'm trying to hit 1.6 and trying to hit 1.8k next week. So we can hit those ceilings, but we need to know which classes I'm going to play in the future. And for now, Druid is a very fun class. Warlock is also a very fun class. Warrior 2, Hunter 2, Shaman 2. But I need to make decisions. So if you want to help me in the comments below, please let me know which classes I could play, concentrate myself. It is a very hard task when you like every classes on WoW to actually choose the very best class that's going well for you. Often than not, classes that are going well for you are not the funniest spell classes. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye. Don't say you're on